But also for me, when I started to go to South America and work with plant medicine, and that started about 13 years ago. And I started going to Peru to heal trauma that I wasn't able to heal just sitting on the cushion for long retreats. We know now a lot more about trauma. And I'm just going to give you this little brief story, and then we can open it up to kind of sharing a little bit more just about how I had to kind of fight to find this aspect of myself. And so I started going to South America because I had all this trauma from sexual trauma when I was young, and just family. I had to move out of my house. I wasn't connected, and my father was crazy. My parents are just out there. You can read a bit about that in my book. So I had to basically go it on my own. And so I had all this unresolved trauma that happens, that you block, and then it evolves out at the right moment. You never expect it, and then there it is. So I ended up going to Peru, working with healers down there and working with plant medicine. And I hid that for a few years, actually, because I was already in training. So I could be like, okay, bye, I'm going on retreat. No one questioned anything, right? Like, okay, good, you're going on retreat. So and then I would fly down to the Amazon rainforest and do plant medicine and work on healing my trauma. And because I had such a strong Buddhist background, I found that was very easy for me in a lot of ways. Not easy as far as being with it, but I was able to apply all the Dharma principles to sitting. So all the indigenous people used to be like, wow, you're really good at this. Because I would just be like, whatever arose, I'd be like, I could sit. And maybe all the years at EBMC riding that bumpy ship also gave me a kind of smoothness to just like, yeah, this is how it is. It's crazy. It's scary. It's this. All right, here we are. Another moment. It gave me a kind of like rootedness to be with drama and to not really respond. Mine and others, right? My own and others. And so at some point I started to share about the work I was doing with plants with my teacher, Jack, and some of the other teachers. And they were like, oh my God, don't ever tell anyone, right? And I was like, wow, okay. So a few more years went along like that. But then I was like, no. So I started inviting groups to do work at my house. I rented a house just to turn it into like a den that we could use it for meditation, but also that we could do healing work there. So I did that for a couple of years, completely under the radar. But then somebody told Spirit Rock, somebody had come to my house and they were like, oh my God, aren't you teaching Vipassana retreat next week? And I was like, and they were about to do a whole plant medicine with healer. And it was like controversial because of the 5th precept, non-intoxicants. That has been a very debated precept. So Spirit Rock basically came and I had to go to all these meetings, and I was kind of like, and I so understood. I actually didn't have a problem with that. But I kept being like, going to all these interviews and meetings and discussions and, is this right? Is this not? Are you a drug addict, or, what's happening? I was like, trying to explain the indigenous tradition with shipibos and healers and plants and how it unfolds and how it's such a great thing with trauma, And I remember at one point they said, well, you just need to stop. You can't have this on your website. You can't ever talk about this. And I accepted that for a couple of months, and then I just said no. I was like, this is who I am. I love it. I respect it. I would never dishonor the Dharma. In fact, I'm so much more connected to it than I ever have been. But I'm going to have these retreats in South America. Yeah. And I'm going to have it on my website, and it's going to say a Buddhist-based ayahuasca center, and I bow to you all, and that's what I'm going to do. It was just like, and they tried to put so much pressure. We had a few very conservative people at that time at Spirit Rock. Ooh, they just did not like me. They thought I was terrible. This new teacher that is corrupting the Dharma, and they didn't know anything about plant medicine. There's so much more known now. This is like 8 years ago, which seems like a lifetime. Now there's all this research and study and articles and celebrities doing it and doctors and, so, but I was like on the cutting edge. So I had to really stand up for myself. And because that's what I believe was right. For me, it was the Bodhisattva act. This is a healing plant. This is healing me and it's healing others. And I'm going to continue.